I make Russian blini for my kids on weekly basis. I think it's now pretty much a given that once a week we'll eat blini. I love one that it's traditionally something I grew up eating. My mom in Belarus would make it for me. So I almost feel like I'm passing on a piece of the culture that I was born in to my children. I also love the fact that they are very easy to make, very inexpensive, yet they're so delicious, so filling, and it's something that my children look forward to eating it on a weekly basis. Not long ago, I did a calculation to see the price of a whole batch of blinchik would cost me, and it came out right around $2. Now, understandably, I live in North Carolina where the prices are not as high as compared, let's say, to places in California, but still, this recipe is very frugal. And in fact, once I make a whole batch and my kids eat what they want the day I make it, we usually have leftovers for the next morning. So, this one recipe that cost me less than $2 to make is enough for my children to eat for 2 meals. And if my husband is lucky enough and my kids leave him any leftovers, he'll take a few with him to work. I found an apple in our fridge with teeth mark from my 6-year-old, and when asked why he didn't eat it, he said he was trying to get his wiggly tooth out and it didn't work, so he just put it right back in the fridge. I didn't want to waste an apple, so I decided to do what my great grandmother used to do, is to make blinchik with apple filling inside. Once I cut up my apples, I always soak them in water that has a little bit of lemon juice in it, and it is to prevent my apples turning brown. Also, I always, regardless of the recipe, even if I make sweet bread with apples, I always cook my apples on a stovetop, and that is to not only soften them, but also to draw any kind of liquid that will prevent my baked goods, or blinchik in that case, turning mushy. In Slavic cultures, there is a saying, "Первый блин комом," which means that the first blin that you will make will not turn out good. But that's really, as a whole, means that anytime you try something new, you just keep on trying, because the more you try, the better you will be at it. When it comes to buttering my pan to prevent blinchik from sticking to my pan, I always go for real butter. But butter right now is not cheap, and that's coming from somebody who bakes for a living. So if you do not have butter in your fridge, you can always use a little bit of whichever cooking oil you have, and just brush the pan and do it this way. It will prevent it from sticking to the pan, but it will not add quite as rich flavor as if you do use butter. So, but it is a way to save a few dollars if you don't have butter around. There are different ways of eating blinchik, and all four of my children have their own special way that they enjoy. Now, traditionally, blinchik is eaten with plain, just with butter, hot butter, melted butter, or dipped in jelly. I have kids who love dipping it in butter. I have kids who love maple syrup. And then there's kids who love dipping it in raspberry jelly. That's our favorite. Y'all, my favorite way to enjoy blinchik is while it's still hot, I put a little slab of butter, cover it up, let it rest for just a few minutes. Then I open it up, just add just a tidbit of salt, tear it down, or tear it up, whatever the right word is. Dip it in butter, and enjoy it. It is so, so good, so inexpensive, so filling, and we all love it. Today, I did make a few blinchik with cooked apples, and everybody really enjoyed it. The weather outside was cool and rainy, so it just kind of felt like a perfect, cozy breakfast that reminds you that fall is right around the corner. Making blinchik with apples today really reminded me of my great grandmother, who used to make this as her signature dish, and so just kind of brought a lot of memories. Interesting fact about blinchik is that you want to enjoy it while they're hot off the frying pan. Once they cool off a little bit, they're not as good, and you do not want to use microwave to warm them up. Instead, you would roll them up, cut them up, and then put a little bit of butter on the frying pan or oil, and then cook them until they're crispy and golden brown, and they're so good that way too. We started school this week, and today was supposed to be raining all day. So kids ask if they can go outside and burn some of their energy. And as a mama who homeschools 4 kids, I couldn't say no. While my kids worked on school independently, I decided to go ahead and start working on a lunch. And for lunch today, we're having pizza. We love making pizza at home, and my kids love it because it's pizza and it's good. I love making it because it's easy, inexpensive, and I love the fact that it doesn't have all the preservatives that you find in store-bought pizzas. My kids prefer thin crust pizza, and I've had this recipe since 2007. I found it in the magazine, cut it out, and have been making it since then. And I love about this recipe is that you can make it ahead, put it in your fridge, which will help develop the flavor a little bit better. Or I even skip the fridge and just make the dough, let it rise on the counter for a little bit, and then either make it right away or put it in the fridge until lunchtime. Get it out about an hour before I have to roll it out so it comes to room temperature, and then make it. And that's it. There's not much to it. I saw something online the other day about pizzas that made me giggle, and hopefully it'll make you smile too. And it said, why do we make circular pizza, put it in a square box, and then cut the pizza in triangular shape slices? Anyways, I thought it was kind of quite funny. This recipe makes 2 big pizzas, enough to feed us and to have leftovers. I have kiddos who like plain with cheese. Also, whatever meat we have in the fridge, whether pepperoni or sausage, we add to the second pizza so that way we have a variety. And nobody ever complains. Everybody loves pizza. After pizza was enjoyed, it was time for dinner. We're making Russian pilmeni, which is meat raviolis. It is something that, if asked, my kids will tell you that they can eat it for breakfast, lunch, and supper. It is so, so good. It does take a little bit of time to make, but it's definitely worth the time. This recipe is the best. It only uses 3 ingredients. It has flour, water, and your choice of meat. For our meat, we like store-bought breakfast sausage in a roll. We buy it from Aldi, so it only costs us a few dollars. Making this recipe so inexpensive, and it's enough to make it for 2 meals. Now, you don't have to use breakfast sausage for meat. You can use whatever meat you like with whichever spices that you prefer. However, if you use, let's say, ground chicken, ground beef, you want to mix it up with ground pork because once cooked, the chicken and the beef will be a little bit tough. So, ground pork is what I go for. If my kids had a choice, they would probably eat this dish for breakfast, lunch, and supper. It is so easy to cook. It's actually a recipe, a great meal to have in your freezer. It freezes beautifully, and once you start cooking, once the water boils, it only takes 6 to 9 minutes to cook. So it's a very quick meal. So during fall, when we're so busy with football practices, football games, this is absolutely hands down the best meal to have in your freezer. And you can't beat the fact that it's so inexpensive to make as well. I have made this dish for play dates when we had friends come over to our house. This is also a wonderful dish to take to somebody who is sick or a mama who just had a baby. Everyone loves pilmeni. Y'all, this is one of my favorite kitchen tools that I have in my kitchen. This is called pilmennica, which is ravioli maker. I picked this one up online over 12 years ago. However, you can find a small version of this on Amazon, and I will put a link below. However, you don't have to have special fancy tools to make raviolis. So I'm going to also show you a second way how you can make raviolis at home without having one of those molds. Pelmeni originated in Siberia back around 14th century. So back then they didn't have those kind of molds. They did old-fashioned way of rolling out the dough, use it in drinking cup, stamping out the circles, and then filling the circles with meat by hand. The reason I love using mold is because it just goes by so much faster. but nothing wrong of doing it by hand if you don't have the mold and if you don't want to spend the money on the mold. Now, this is also a great activity to involve your kids in. My kids love coming alongside of me and try to make pelmeni by hand. And every time they make it, they just get better and better at it. While the older three are making, my 6-year-old usually uses the scraps of the dough as a play dough and tries to make all kinds of different shapes with it. So it's definitely a great family time of not only teaching your kids to have a skill for when they're older and can make this for their families, but it's also a great bonding time for us. And when they do eat pilmeni, I feel like they have a greater appreciation and enjoyment from this dish because they know they made it themselves. Now, my kids are not huge on vegetables, but I try to find different ways to sneak them in to where they enjoy it. And right now, garden season is in full force. And so we do have some tomatoes and this weird looking lemon cucumber. Have you seen the lemon cucumber before? It does not taste like a cucumber, but it sure does look like one. I grew up eating this cucumber tomato salad with sour cream dressing in Belarus and absolutely loved it during hot days with pan fried potatoes. If I can just have those two things, just the salad and pan fried potatoes, I am good. If you do not know what to do with abundance of your harvest of tomatoes and cucumbers, make this salad. I promise you, it is so refreshing. All it is three ingredients: sour cream, cucumbers, and tomatoes mixed together. Add a little bit of salt. It's really good the next day when the sour cream and cucumbers kind of add a little bit more of their juices to it. Mm, perfection. Back to pelmeni. Now, there's different ways of cooking pelmeni, of enjoying pelmeni, so let me share with you. So, a traditional way to make pelmeni, you can do it pan fried or boiled. In our house, the only way my kids know how to eat pelmeni is boiled. You bring water to full boil, then drop your pelmeni, and once they come to the top, you're just gonna watch it 6 to 9 minutes. That's all it takes for pelmeni to cook because the meat is quite small inside, so it doesn't take much time. Once you take pelmeni out, all we do is add a slab of butter and a dollop of sour cream, and your pelmeni are ready to be enjoyed. Easy, quick, inexpensive, great for busy days. However, you can fancy up your pelmeni by adding different kind of sauces on top of them, adding them to soups. And so in this case, I decided to make kind of like ravioli tomato soup, or in my case, I used pelmeni instead of store-bought raviolis. For this recipe, it's so easy. All you do is add a carton of chicken broth. If you have homemade broth, you can do that. Then you add 2 cans of diced tomatoes, a brick of room temperature of cream cheese, and then this is where you can just use whatever you have on hand. The recipe originally calls for sweet Italian sausage. Just brown it, add it to the pot. I didn't have that on hand, so I just used a little bit of ground beef that I had in the fridge and used that in its place. And then you add your pelmeni or raviolis to it. Oh my goodness, and just let it cook so fast. And I am telling you, in a rainy day, and now it just kind of like adds on, makes you feel like the fall is right around the corner, is absolutely like heartwarming, amazing, whatever word you can associate with fall. Comfortable, comfy, like cozy, that's the word I was looking for. Cozy. It just makes it for a great cozy evening. If you want to take this recipe up one more notch, make homemade grilled cheese. I will let you in on a secret. I do not like cheese. I know people always told me when I came to the US, you cannot be American if you do not like cheese. But that's something I just do not have the taste for it. I don't like pizza. I don't like mac and cheese. So when I do for my kids dishes that have cheese, it's definitely a treat for them. But for this particular recipe, I think grilled cheese, it's kind of like eating tomato soup with grilled cheese on a cold, rainy day, will go perfect with it. This is one dish that I promise you, you will most likely not have any leftovers. The rain has finally stopped. My husband's back home from work, and we shared a quiet dinner together as a family. Time to clean up, tuck the kids in bed, and soak in the quiet, peaceful evening. See you on the next page.